Hi ladies. So for those of you that don't already know me, I'm Natasha. I'm a rapid transformation coach for women who want to unlock their next level of business success. I wanted to come on today to talk about something really, really important. It's the biggest driving factor behind my business. And it's breaking the cycle. But it's not breaking the cycle, I guess, in a way that we might think. And I want to explain that a bit more. So, from the age of 19, I worked in social care and social work services, particularly with adults who had been through a lot of trauma. So, adults with mental health issues, adults with addiction issues, adults who lived in homelessness services. My specialty was working with co-presenting issues, so that was mental health issues and substance abuse. So some of the most difficult, I guess, cases to work with in society with people who had been through extreme trauma. I didn't work with anyone who hadn't had some sort of trauma in their background that had led to those addiction and mental health issues. Now, lots of them have had children removed as well, and living homeless on the streets. Some were in the process of having children removed, and one of my roles was to go in and work with the family for 6 weeks, so rapid intervention, to prevent their children from being removed, to try and break that cycle. The problem is, in social services and all the other sort of, support services you see out there, breaking the cycle, they're talking about breaking the cycle of behaviours. Okay, so stopping them from using drugs or alcohol, stopping them from treating their children badly, and stopping that cycle of behaviours being passed on to the children. Now, I don't believe that that is the answer. To truly break the cycle, you have to break the cycle of belief systems that are being passed from generation to generation. So it's all about that, okay? Because you cannot change behaviours without changing the belief systems. And I never judged these people that I worked with, okay? Because I had my own addictions. I had food addictions, exercise addiction, bulimia. Like, I had a lot of issues myself. Bad relationship addictions. There was a few years of my life where I was always out drinking, and it was seen as socially acceptable because I was in uni, but it was heavy chronic drinking, okay? And I had my own issues as a result of my own traumas. And all addiction, whatever that addiction is, whether that's food or drugs, okay, it all comes from the same place. Trauma and the belief that we're not loved or worthy or enough in some way, okay? So I understood the people I worked with, and I never judged them because I was secretly battling my own addictions that I just mentioned. And it's not just about the behaviour that we want to stop, okay? So you might have had parents who did not treat you very well, or maybe they had mental health issues or drug addictions or alcohol addictions, and you might not be the same as them in the sense you don't act the same way, but what you might see is that you have the same belief systems. So the reason your parents did those things was because they had deep beliefs that they weren't lovable enough or worthy, and they had trauma in their own background that led to that. So our parents, our relationship with our parents, how they are and how they are with us, and sometimes that's a lack of relationship if that parent wasn't in your life, that impacts our blueprint for all relationships in our lives. Our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with money, our relationship with food, our relationship with our business and within our businesses as well, okay? So that impacts everything. And when you can change that blueprint, when you can break that cycle of belief systems, not enoughness, not worthy, not lovable, not loved, when you break those cycles of belief systems that are passed down from our parents to us, that is where we create the biggest change. That is truly breaking the cycle. And even though we might not act in the ways that our parents acted, And most of us decide, right, I'm never going to parent the way that I was parented because we were hurt so badly by that. Even though that happens and we are better parents, sometimes we find ourselves acting in some of the same ways that our parents might have acted with us, like losing our temper with our children or saying certain phrases that our parents might have said to us, and that makes us feel awful inside. It makes us feel terrible because we think, oh my gosh, I'm going to end up like my mother or my father, and that's the last thing you want. And then that creates a cycle of guilt, feeling bad, feeling like you're not a good person, not a good parent, but it wasn't your fault. Okay, it's not your fault because actually you are so much stronger than lots of people out there if you are choosing to parent differently to how you were parented, because that's the hardest cycle to break. And you will have already done such an incredible job, but there is things ingrained in you that will naturally come out if you're feeling triggered or stressed or going through your own difficulties, because we're human. We are human. We can't always 100% control how we respond to things and to our children. And even though I was still a loving parent to Jensen before I went through my own journey of transformation and healing from my traumatic past, I became a better mum when I actually worked on my own shit. Yeah, when I actually started healing my past. And lots of my clients, they don't even realize sometimes the amount of trauma and the impact that their childhood has had on them. Lots of my clients don't even realize that what they went through was abuse. Okay, and it's only after you do the work and you just feel so much more at peace, so much less angry, so much less anxious, that you truly realize how much your past has been impacting on you. So when I'm talking about breaking the cycle, like, I'm talking about breaking belief systems, because you cannot change behaviours without breaking belief systems. And my biggest why behind what I do, my biggest why behind my business, is breaking those cycles of beliefs that are being passed from generation to generation, that not worthiness, not enoughness, not lovable. Because I can guarantee you, if your parents didn't do a good enough job with you, it's because they had parents who didn't do a good enough job, or they went through horrific things in their childhood too, okay? But they weren't conscious enough or aware enough to be able to know that and understand that and work on themselves to break that cycle. Now, we are in a much better position. We're a much more aware generation. We're a much more conscious generation. And although we're not responsible for the generations that come before us, we're not responsible for what happened to us, we are responsible for changing this and breaking this cycle, healing ourselves, and not passing those shitty beliefs that we were given onto our next generation. And the work I do creates business success, because your business is a relationship, okay? You have a relationship with your business. When you change your relationship with yourself, by breaking those cycles of beliefs that have been passed on to you from your parents and from previous generations before them, you change your relationship with yourself. And that leads you to change your relationship with your business and with money and with your partner and with your children. Like, it impacts every relationship in your life. So the biggest, deepest why behind what I do is not about creating a successful business for you. That is your outcome. But it's actually that transformation that you get that impacts your whole family, that impacts your children. If my parents had been able to do this work on themselves, I know I would have had a completely different life. I don't have a relationship with either of them anymore. And that was my choice as part of my healing journey. And sometimes healing a relationship means ending that relationship. It's not the same for everyone. A lot of the work I do is around repairing relationships so that my clients can have positive relationships with their parents in life. But if they have a choice that they want to end that relationship, I respect that choice and I help them with that transition too. So I know that if my parents had actually had self-love, self-worth, self-belief and self-trust, if they had the strength to change their own lives and get out of situations that they were in, I wouldn't have gone through the horrific abuse that I went through in my childhood. Now, I like to see the silver lining in everything. If I hadn't gone through that horrific abuse, I wouldn't be where I am now, changing the lives of my clients and their families. Yeah? So I truly believe, and that this is a way that I've dealt with my traumas. I use my trauma for good. I use my trauma to transform others, because I learned so much about how to heal from trauma and how to survive that from the experiences I had in my own healing journey, and I combine that with my professional mastery. So what I think the thing I want to make clear is, when you work on yourself, you're not being selfish, okay? So lots of people get this idea that if I work on myself, I'm being selfish, or if I spend money on myself, I'm being selfish. You are not being selfish. You are not only changing your life, you are changing the lives of your children, of your grandchildren. And if you haven't got them yet, it'll be your future children and your future grandchildren. You're actually changing the lives of everyone around you. And that is absolutely priceless. That is not selfish, that is selfless. Like, that is what all our future generations need. And I don't know if this resonates with you, but this is the biggest driving factor behind my work. It's not just changing your life. It's not just giving you a successful business. That is the side effect. It's actually changing everything for your future generations, for your children, for your grandchildren, for your great-grandchildren, and every other generation to come. Because we are a different generation. If you've been through trauma, or if you've been like the scapegoat in your family, it's because you're a change maker. You are a change maker. You are the one that has almost been chosen in a way to stop this cycle. That's it. That's all I wanted to come on and tell you. This is really important stuff for me, to me. It's the biggest why behind my work. And I think it's an important message that needs to get out there. I was at the gym earlier, and it was all that was going through my mind is, I need to share this today. Somebody needs to hear it. So I hope that has been beneficial for you in some way, and that you've taken something away from that. That's it from me. Bye for now.